Do you notice a difference between retro collectors of different systems? I collect for Dreamcast and noticed a scene for some.
Yes, I do notice differences. Although I have to say that I noticed differences between collectors a lot more, say 5-10 years ago. You had your arcade junkies who, loved the Dreamcast. You have people who are a bit more obsessed, I think, with collecting full sets with the NES. You have your collectors who are doing it because, it's the one system they had and they were kind of the outsider with the master system. You see people who were collecting TurboGrafx, not because they had the TurboGrafx, but a lot of people because it, to them, was uncharted territory that no one touched. I feel like as time goes on, though, and more people are exposed to these consoles, I feel like it does become a little homogenized. I'm not going to say that there's not differences in collectors. Sega collectors, to me, definitely seem to be a little bit more about playing games, whereas your Nintendo collectors seem... And I'm not trying to say all, or I'm not trying to generalize entirely. I'm just trying to speak from where I sit behind the counter. Your Nintendo collectors are going to be more picky about condition and things like that. I have a lot more Genesis collectors who are like, I don't care if it's loose or box, I just want to play it.
Yeah. I would say if you want to talk about collectors that are more likely to actually play their games, yeah, I would probably lean towards the Sega folks, Master System, Genesis, TurboGrafx 16. They will play those games.
Sure.
They got to seek out those games, pay a lot of money for them. They're probably going to play them, more than likely. The NES has this sort of negative now connotation saying you collect NES because it's such a vast library, and because it's probably in terms of value it's the highest monetarily of all the retro games, pound for pound.
Sure.
And the fact that it's so varied and hard to collect for versus the other systems, aside from those handful of Atari 2600 games, there's like 5 that exist, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
That it draws that type of collector that it's like the biggest challenge.
Sure.
To go for that. And so to complete an NES collection is like you complete a Sega Master System collection, so what? Even a Super Nintendo, it's like, is it that hard really? But the challenge, the draw, there's this sort of like you put on a pedestal, I think, with the NES. So I'd say overall the NES collectors, they are less likely to play their games. I've seen it myself. I've seen it.
Sure. I mean, when you're buying that many games, and honestly, when 2/3 of the library is probably dodgy.
Well, half, according to a certain NES guidebook.
I feel like you were a little soft. Anyways.
I was a little soft on some of my reviews,
yes, yeah.
Really? Which one was I soft on?
I just feel like overall you erred on the side of overlooking minor things.
So you would have maybe given a half star less on some?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. But let's just say
that hurts, Ian.
Not really. It's not controversy, it's opinion. And everyone's allowed to have one.
I only gave 2 stars to Ice Climber.
Ooh, I like that game.
See? Was I too soft there?
No. Well, yeah. No, you were too harsh there.
What would you give it? 2.5?
I'd give it 2.5. It's really the only thing I don't like about Ice Climber is the jumping.
But that's the whole game,
but you get used to it. It's just something that in your brain.
But the entire gimmick of the difficulty is built on the bad jumping mechanic. That's
fair enough.
So
whatever.
So that's where you were too soft. Anyway, that's an aside. For more on Ice Climber, go read Ultimate Nintendo Guide to the NES Library, available digital download right now at ultimatnes.com. Sorry, what were we saying?